What is up, guys? Here with another video, and in this video, I'll be talking about the Knicks versus the Pacers, right? Finally, the Celtics got eliminated, right? And I'm such an idiot, I should have never picked the Celtics over the Knicks, right? But then, the Knicks are kind of like an unpredictable team. This team is just so damn unpredictable, right? I mean, they've been struggling, all season long, They even, almost lost to the Pistons. And I didn't think they're going to beat the Celtics. I did not think that. I have to be honest, right? Knicks are the biggest surprise to me when it comes to playoff, right? But then, I shouldn't be surprised, the Celtics lost. So before I talk about the Pacers and the, the Knicks, there has been a surprise, right? This series actually surprised me the most, right? And why is that, right? Everybody picked the Boston to beat the Knicks, right? Now, if I don't have short-term memory loss, but I still did watch the game because it was full of crap. And, blowouts been happening left and right. It's like crazy, man. Crazy blowouts, man. I'm like, yeah, who would want to watch your blowout, getting your team lose by like 30 plus points? You think a team can come back from that much deficit? It's not that easy, man. And I'm happy Boston got eliminated. I am so happy, man. Especially, the Laker Nation. The Knicks hate the Laker. The Knicks hate the Boston, and the Laker hates Boston, right? Yeah, I know that a lot of people hate Boston because, they are just so delusional, so racist fan base. Nobody cannot stand Boston, right? Last year, they beat nobody, right? The Celtics beat nobody. I have to be honest with you. Every single team they played, they got injured, right? The Celtics only beat up an injured team last year, right? And now, they're out of the second round, right? That's the Knicks really exposed Boston Celtics. They really did, man. Right? And I had to be honest with you. The Detroit Pistons put up a better fight than the Boston Celtics, right? Even though, the Celtics, I feel sorry for them, because Jason Tatum, got injured, right? But it's not an excuse at the end of the day because, Joe Mazzulla is an idiot, man. Right? This Celtic team just got hella lucky last year, Ime Udoka was the one that built the team, right? Joe Mazzulla didn't do anything special, right? If he's still a good coach, he should be able to beat the Knicks. The Knicks was beatable team, right? The Boston could have beat the Knicks, but they choked, right? They choked. They give opportunity away. And when it comes to Game 6, then they got blown out of the water. They get blown out of the gym straight up and pack up and go home, right? Boy, you love to play this is why we won the Eastern Conference Final of the Western Conference. Now the real team shows up. Every single real team shows up, right? The West are still a bunch of fake teams, man. I don't trust the Nuggets. I don't trust the Thunder. I don't trust the Timberwolves, right? Now, we will talk about that series later. Now, let's talk about the Pacers versus Cavs and the Knicks versus Celtics, right? So, yeah, I do not like the West, but I love the East Coast better, right? So, yeah, the East is going to win it all, whoever comes out, the conference final, right? Then Jalen Brunson is the real deal, man. Like, I was wrong about this guy, right? Jalen Brunson, he was with the Mavericks, then he goes to the Knicks. He put the Knicks to the final, to the conference, finals, right? After defeating the Boston Celtics in 6 games, right? Let me go over what happened, why the Knicks are the hell of a team. They're a heck of the team. They beat the hell out of the Celtics, man. Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Right? And Celtics should have won, like I said already. So, Game 1 and Game 2, right? Celtics blow 220 points lead. And the Knicks are up 2-0, right? In that series. And they were at the Celtic. Oh my god, man. Right? There's a biggest reason why the Celtics lose is all they do is just run up and jack up 3 points, right? You live by the 3, you die by the 3. That is the only... Boston play a really stupid game plan. Like they play really stupid and shoot themselves out of the game. They really beat themselves, right? I cannot blame the Knicks. It's not the Knicks' fault that beat the Boston, right? It's the Celtics' fault that beat themselves, right? So yeah, if the Celtics won those games, or matter of fact, they should have won both games at home. They would have ended the series already, man. They would have, man. Right? Every single game was seen to be winnable, right? To me, right? Game 4, I feel this is why I hate the playoff at the same time, because every team gets injured, right? Oh my god, like injuries after injuries. John Moran gets injured. Steph Curry gets injured. That's why I don't like the Timberwolves versus, the Warriors series. That, Eddie Edwards got kindly injured and Jason Tatum gets injured. Oh my god. And then, Eric Gordon gets injured. Freaking injuries like everywhere, man. Everywhere. Right? So yeah, that's the one thing I hate about the playoffs. You don't want to see injuries, right? And this is why, the series can be a lot more boring, and it can, maybe because these players are not as strong as they used to be in the past. So don't ever compare this modern era, to the past. Don't ever compare it, because there should be way less injury, and the injury has gone insane, man, right? But last year was full of injury. This is why the Celtics got the easiest championship in NBA history, aside from the Lakers, 2020 bubble championship that nobody ever respects. Now, nobody's going to respect 2024 championship. It's kind of like the bubble, but it's probably even weaker than the bubble, right? Now, maybe just equally as bad, right? They're just equally. Lakers and Boston got their one lucky championship, right? And I have to say, honestly, from my truth, the way I see it, right? Yeah, and Game 3, Celtics just blow out the Knicks. Like, Celtics should have beat, because they were up in the majority of the game, right? They blew out the Knicks Game 1. They blow out the Knicks Game 2. They blow out the Knicks Game 3. And Game 4, the Knicks was kind of in it, and then they blew up Game 5 without Jason Tatum, Like, the Celtics should have won this series. The Celtics should. They were clearly better team, If you beat a team, if you're up like 20 points, like 3 or 4 times there, you should have just eliminated team or could potentially just sweep the team, right? Yeah, the competition is just a joke. The Celtics are an absolute joke, man. They're just a regular season team. They're just like the Clippers, and the Cavs, So now we have to go over the Cavs, enough of the Celtics versus, the Knicks, and I have to get going right here. I have to get going really fast. The Cavaliers versus, the Pacers. I'm not surprised the Pacers, actually beat the Cavs, right? I thought that people are an idiot picking the Pacers over the Cavaliers, but Cavaliers are just a regular season team, Donovan Mitchell is not a leader of team. That's why the Cavaliers lost, right? I know Cavaliers and Celtic, they only play well in the regular season. And when it comes to playoff, they're just not built for the playoffs. So, yeah, Donovan Mitchell is absolutely, he's a really phenomenal player, but he gets injured. Darius Garland gets injured as well, I mean, the Pacers are actually beatable, but then, the Cavaliers just have injury problem, and they don't have a leader. Donovan Mitchell is not a leader. So, yeah, the Pacers are a really fast team, They play, they just wear you down, This is how they overcome the Bucks and overcome the Cavs, right? And so, they were two really tough teams. The Bucks was actually put up a better fight than the Cavaliers, right? So, yeah, the Pacers almost swept the Cavaliers, but somehow Cavaliers, won Game 3. So, the Cavaliers are actually, that's a good thing, Cavaliers beat the Pacers Game 3, because Cavaliers actually gave you a recipe, how to beat the Pacers. How to eliminate the Pacers. Pacers are very beatable, but if a team fails, it is what it is, But yeah, the Cavaliers just gave Pacers some weakness, and so is the Bucks, right? This is why I honestly think, Cavaliers should have got swept, because the first two games, the Cavalier choke, they were up big game 2, and also, game 1 they were down, game 2 they were up like 19 points, right? And the Pacers just like, they beat them, right? The Cavaliers defense got really exposed in the playoff, right? So, yeah, just because we add Darius Garland, and other role players, it still did not make a difference. And game 5 and game 4, I forgot, like, the Pacer was up 41 points at the halftime, That is nuts, insane, man. The Cavalier just literally beat the Heat like 60 points, and then, they're down like 40 points at the halftime to the Pacers, right? And the Pacers were just, like chilling out for the last of the series, right? So, yeah, Tyler Halliburton, Nemhard, and the Pacers look really strong right now, and they got a lot of rest, right? The Knicks made mistake, let the Celtics, win a couple game here and there, that extended the series, and that extended, the Pacers break. So the Knicks, that's what. So yeah, that's just the end of the recap right here, right? Not much to say. So if the Cavaliers want to win the championship, they just have to blow up this roster, man. Right? They have to find a real roster that are built for the playoffs, right? The Knicks, to me, they're actually built for the playoffs. They have to be just like New York Knicks. Even if the Cavaliers, somehow, sneakily beat the Pacers, then they're gonna lose to the Knicks. I got a feeling, man. Right? Even though the Knicks are frauds, right? So, yeah. And god damn it, man. I mean, god damn, this is so fun. We got the Knicks versus the Pacers, right? In the conference final. And this matchup has not happened since year 2000. The Knicks fans are celebrating like crazy. They won a championship. They go hella nuts, man. 25 years of not appearing to the conference final, and they face the same opponent again. Oh boy, man, this is going to be fun, right? This is going to be a 7-game series, man. So who you got winning the series, Pacers or the Knicks, right? Man, this is iffy, But I'm picking the Pacers over the Knicks, right? Yeah, the Pacers went through a much more tougher, they beat opponents that are much tougher from. They beat the first seeded Cavs, and then they beat the Bucks, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo is a very dangerous player, and yeah, the Bucks are a very dangerous team still to me, right? Because of Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? And being the Cavs and the Bucks are not easy. Well, the Cavs are totally fluke. The Bucks would have beat the Cavs, honestly, right? But yeah, the Pacers, they're just built better, and they just went through a tougher, trend than, the Knicks, right? The Knicks have, they're obviously, to me, if the Pistons are this close to eliminating the Knicks, and also, the fraudulent Celtics, gave them a fight of their life, I don't think they're going to beat the Pacers. I'm sorry, man, but just as much as I love the Knicks, I know that Knicks fans are really passionate also, but I know that, I heard that some Laker fans actually like Knicks as a second favorite team, right? I know that Knicks are a very lovable team. They're very loyal, and I love their fan base, right? But I can love them as much as I want, but I'm going to have to pick the Pacers over them, right? They have so much heart. They have fight so much physical. They don't shoot three. They're not a stupid team. But it's just they're inconsistent, and they keep falling down 20 points, to the Celtics. I guess Celtics shoots a lot of three. They heavily rely on three. That is not going to win you games. Right? If you keep falling down like 10 or 20 points to the Pacers, then they're not going to be a Celtic. They're not going to let you back in the game. It's going to be damn near impossible. But Celtic, if you play against the Celtic, then of course they're going to blow that type of lead, right? But the Pacers are not that type of team, because They got a championship coach, Rich Carso, something. That same coach, that won the 2011 NBA championship. So he knows what it takes, to beat the Knicks, right? And I do not like Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is a really great head quality coach. But the only criticism I don't like about it, he just runs his teammates to the ground. He runs his player. And I feel like if that's going to happen in the playoff, then yeah, the Knicks are going to get tired, The Pacers will beat them, right? I think this is going to be a 6-game series, right? Right? This is going to be a close series, but I say Pacers in 6 or 7, right? And the Pacers are going to the finals, right? Yeah, the Pacers they are not going to be easier than Detroit. They are not going to be easier than the Celtics, right? Even if the Celtics advance, I still got the Pacers beating the Celtics, right? The only reason why the Pacers got swept last year is because Tyrese Halliburton was injured, right? I mean, if the Pacers was fully healthy last year, they would have knocked out the Celtics. They would have, man. Definitely. In my heart, right? Right? Just because you got swept with injuries last year, that doesn't mean, you're a better team. The Celtics are better than them. No, that's not true, right? So, yeah. The Celtics actually exposed the Knicks, and the Detroit exposed the Knicks, right? The Knicks should have beat the Detroit in 7 games, right? If the Pacers are just a little bit better than the Pistons, they have a really good chance of knocking the Knicks. These guys, the Knicks are now getting wear off in the playoff, right? Even though they have, a nice little, huge margin victory over the Celtics in Game 6, right? I'm like, the Knicks are just, another dumb team, just like the Timberwolves, right? Do you trust Jalen Brunson? They got Novi? Do you trust Karl Anthony Towns, right? I feel like, yeah, they have, lack of size too. They don't have a center. Jalen Brunson is actually, slightly taller than me. I'm like 5'10", 5'11"-ish. I don't know how tall Jalen Brunson is, but he's just maybe a guard, just very good leader. But I think the Knicks, if they have a little bit more size, maybe they would have toppled over the Pacers. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't completely count out the Knicks out of the playoff. They're definitely going to win some game versus the Pacers, but they're not going to win 4 games. I don't see it happening, man. And if they do, if I'm wrong, it is what it is at the end of the day, And it tells me a lot, that the Cavaliers will never win the championship. They are really big fraud. This is why Donovan Mitchell was the biggest responsibility of the Utah Jazz versus the Clippers, 4 years ago, right? Donovan Mitchell is a very fraudulent player. And also, the Bucks, Giannis should just leave the Bucks, right? If the Pacers lose to the Knicks, that's what kind of message, send me, the Knicks, just send, to the NBA world, right? That's what they should do. Everybody should focus on how to beat the Knicks and how to beat the Pacers, right? Because they are the 2 top dog in the Eastern Conference right now, man. Right? So, yeah, that's my message to the Cavaliers and to the Milwaukee Bucks, right? So, that's it. End of video here, and there's nothing else much to say. If injuries happen again, God forbid, the result's going to overturn again. I just hate it when injuries happen, This is why our prediction technically is wrong. It's not an excuse, right? It's wrong, So just please, no more injuries, man. Please, no more, right? I get it, man. Jason Tatum did not injure himself. It was not his fault. It was the stupid coach's fault, right? And he should get fired. And just blow this roster up, No more shooting 3 more styles, man. Just no more of that, man. Right? I get it. People... I get it. The Boston Celtics are just really annoying, man. They're really annoying to a lot of people. And thank God they're out of the playoffs. Thank goodness, man. See, that's what a good team is. They have to win championship repeats, right? But they only won 1, so it doesn't mean at the end of the day. It doesn't mean anything, you know. Now they're truly battle tested and they got knocked out, you know, to the Knicks, right? And the Knicks are not a formidable team. They're not. It's always the Pacers. Both teams are not formidable. This is why it's unpredictable of who's gonna win who. If they was a great team, you know, back in the era, you know, if they're facing Knicks versus Pacers, guaranteed these teams are not having, don't stand a chance against these teams in the past, right? The Knicks versus Pacers in conference final back in, you know, the 2000s, you know, they were a lot more formidable than this team right now because we live in a very weak era, right? So, bye-bye, enough here.